Why do so many English Bibles put a Hebrew letter every 8 verses in Psalm 119? If you've ever looked through any Bibles before, you've probably noticed that a lot of them have the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, also called the Aleph Beit, spaced every 8 verses in Psalm 119, beginning with the first letter Aleph and ending with the last letter Tav. The reason these Hebrew letters are here is to show that in the original Hebrew, Psalm 119 is an acrostic poem. Each line of an acrostic poem starts with a certain letter, and in English poems, all those letters together usually spell a word. In the Hebrew Bible, though, the lines of an acrostic poem each start with a different letter of the Aleph Beit, starting with the first letter Aleph and ending with the last one, Tav. Psalm 119 is divided into 22 groups, which each have 8 lines. All 8 lines of each of these 22 groups start with one of the 22 letters of the Aleph Beit. The first 8 verses of the psalm all start with the first letter Aleph in Hebrew, and the next 8 start with the second letter Beit, and so on until we get to the last 8 verses, which each start with the last letter Tav. Psalm 119 is usually the only place where English Bibles will show this aspect of the original Hebrew poetry, but there are several other acrostic poems in the Bible. Several other psalms are also acrostic poems, and the first 4 chapters of Lamentations are as well. Chapters 1, 2, and 4 of Lamentations each have 22 verses, each verse starting with a different letter of the Aleph Beit. Chapter 3 has 66 verses, where the first 3 verses each start with Aleph, the next 3 with Beit, and so on. Nahum 1 is considered to possibly be an acrostic poem, though it does not go over every letter, every line. And the poem of the virtuous wife in Proverbs 31 is also an acrostic poem, with every line starting with a different letter of the Aleph Beit.